get into some list growth strategies. So let's talk about your email marketing list. And the fastest way is all to build, right? You've got to have some way to consistently attract people to what it is you're doing. I mean, consistently, right? And that's the hardest thing, is not necessarily to find the right thing, because people are even within a niche, even when you're the expert, even when you know people backwards and forwards. Some people like certain topics and other people don't like them. Some people like, all of a particular kind of topic, and sometimes they don't like anything, right? And so the only way that you're going to be able to get people from what you're doing, if you're a blogger or whatever you're doing, the only way you're going to be able to do that is you got to be consistent about the content. And again, I know you're probably tired of hearing me say that, but I don't know that there's anything else, right, short of a magic bullet that you and I can do to generate traffic consistently. As an information marketer, you and I have to be prolific in putting out things that are going to attract some people, right? Even when we know the people, you're only going to be able to attract some people every time you do something. Consistent attraction takes some form of consistent content, some form. And so if what I'm saying that today is, if you have not generated something, right, whether it is a blog, whether it is a video, a video series or a podcast, you've got to decide tonight for it to be regular. So even if you're producing blog posts and you share them out there, you're regular about that. You're good about getting them, let's say, syndicated, but they just don't come out on a regular basis. And what I mean by regular basis, they've got to be very, very serial, right? So anything you put out in terms of content has got to be serial. Again, that's something that you and I have talked about before. As an information marketer, when you start talking about your list, you do have to segment, but you basically only have 2 lists, right? So even if you have, let's say, 20,000 people on your list, you only have 2 lists within your autoresponder. You have people who are prospects who have not bought anything from you, right? They opted into your list, but they didn't come there by having purchased anything. They came there because you had an opt-in page someplace, and they put their name and email address in, and they're on your email marketing list no matter how long they've been there, right? That's one person who's on your list no matter how big or small it is. You have a customer list. Some of the people became members of your email marketing list because you sold a product, and the after-sale autoresponder put them onto your list on a non-confirming process. So in other words, you didn't even have them confirm. You just added them to your list, right? You add them to your list through the API because they bought something. They became your customer. And so those are going to be the 2 people who are going to be on your list, either people who bought something from you or people who haven't. And so when you start thinking of things that way, you do have 2 basic forms of communication you need to be undertaking, right, at the very beginning. And when you're building your list, you have to stay on top of when and how your buyers transition. And again, that's hard to do. If you have some form of marketing automation in your autoresponder and you haven't turned it on, but you already started building your list, that's okay. But starting today, you have to turn on the automation. And at least what this means is that when somebody becomes a prospect, they need to stay on that list until they become a customer. And you're going to have to use automation in order to do that, where somebody is removed from your customer list and with your prospect list and put on your customer list when they buy something. Again, you only have 2 lists, right? So even if you segment your buyers list into all the different products that they've ever bought, you still only have 2 lists. These are going to be the people who bought something from you and the people who haven't. And so if you don't stay on top of it, what happens is you don't then have the ability to talk to these 2 groups of people 2 different ways, because you do need to be talking to these people in 2 different ways. If somebody's already purchased something that you have put together, then you can talk to them in a certain way about certain things that you can't talk to the other group about, because you haven't been able to generate the trust yet for them to buy something. So again, if you haven't done that in your autoresponder now, then today is the day to set it up. So set it up so that you basically have 2 lists or 2 sets of prospects or two sets of people on your list. The prospects, and you can have all your prospect lists and your customers and all your customer lists. And when you do that, what's going to happen is when you actually have somebody to buy something, you're going to have to set up the automation rules so they are automatically taken off of any of the prospect list that you have. Now, there are ways that you can combine those lists into one. I think there are some third-party tools where you can combine those lists in one in places like Aweber and otherwise. But basically, when somebody buys something, you want them automatically taken off any other prospect list they join, all of them, right? And that can be a bit of a task, but it is worth the task because, again, you're going to email them in a different way. You're going to email people who have been prospects. You're going to create subject lines that are different. When you're creating a different subject line, you're probably going to see your open rate increase. And so what happens then, if more people are opening your email, you're going to get more people to your site. You're going to get more people clicking on your links. And because you're going to be able to write subject lines that people are going to be more familiar with. For example, if let's say that you sold a product, I don't know, called paperback, how to write a paperback book. Well, in part of your subject line is you're going to put in there buyers of paperback book club, right? Paperback club, right? Put that in brackets when you write your headline of your email, because that's going to tell people, hey, you know what? This is for the people who only bought this product. It must be pretty important. This lady or this guy, they're emailing me, right? They're emailing me and they want to know, they're going to be telling me about something. Now, again, you do need to have something to say to these people, but you want to make sure that those lists are segmented, and you have to stay on top of this for this strategy to work. And it's hard to do. It is being made easy to do by, I guess, some of the new automation features in sites like Aweber, in sites like GetResponse, in sites like MailChimp. However, it is not for the faint of heart in order to get those things set up, right? But you do need to get them set up the more that your list grows. Basically, when somebody wasn't a customer becomes your customer, you just separate them, he or she, from your prospects. We just talked about that a minute ago. And, here's the other thing, and I've said this in a number of different forums. If you are not, right, if you're not at this point, and again, I recognize that it's a lot of work. I recognize that it's not something necessarily that everybody wants to do. Not everybody wants to write every day, but you have to be in touch with people pretty regularly. And again, right now, it's still email. You don't have to be a great writer. You've got to be willing to communicate. You've got to be willing to connect with people. And if you can do that, now, here's what I will say about connecting with people over email. You don't have to be a great writer, and you don't have to be funny, and you don't have to be witty. You do have to be consistent. And what will happen is some people will stay with you, and some people will not. Some people will get your vibe, and some people will not. Some people will compensate for who you're not, and some people will not. And they'll drop off. But again, if you're consistently yourself in your emails, and you're having these conversations with your prospects on the one hand and your customers on the other hand, what's going to happen is you are eventually just going to start to grow your list, and you're going to start to move people over from the prospect side to the customer side. But in order to do that, you really have to have these conversations on a regular basis. You have to have the prospect conversation. You have to have the customer conversation, I think, daily. Right now, again, I recognize that you may not want to write your customers on a daily basis. That's fine. I think you should, but if you decide not to, that's understandable. But at minimum, you need to be writing your prospects on a daily basis. And what are you going to write your prospects about? You're going to provide them value, and you're going to ask for the sale, right? Ask for the sale. You've lost nothing by asking for the sale from your prospects, because again, if you don't move them over to being customers, quite frankly, it's nice to have them on your list, but that will not help you, right? So again, I'm not saying that you have to bombard them with sales messages, and I'm especially not saying that you need to hit them with affiliate offers. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that you and I need to, and again, you all have a PLR that's available. You put that PLR on your domain, and you sell it, right? You offer it. Right now, again, you should have enough PLR right now that you could have a different offer for every day of the week. And so every day you can offer something different. Now, again, if you're building your list, this is not going to be a problem. So again, I'm not saying that you should be hitting people with, the most recent affiliate product. And in fact, I'm not even a fan of that. I am saying though, you should have something of your own and you should be asking for the sale every day. Right? Dana says probably for the rest of her life. Right. That's fine. But, which is good. I mean, you've got something to put together in your emails every day. All right. Okay.